I can't imagine how tough it was to leave a team after the magical run that you guys had here in the spring of '04 all the way to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. But tough enough that even when you were with the Kings last year and they were out of the playoffs, you drove to Anaheim for a couple of the Flames' first-round games against the Ducks. Do we conclude from that that there was always a piece of your heart left here in Calgary?
Well, these are great guys here. I mean, they're good friends of mine, and Anaheim's so close to LA that I was, I was definitely going to those games, and I just felt like, I would have loved to have been out on that ice, watching those guys, watching the games, and I told them, I said, well, if you win, I called here and I said I need 2 tickets because if it's Calgary-Edmonton, I got to come and see what's going on. It would be unbelievable.
Were they going to be able to fix you up with the tickets?
Yeah, they were hooking me up. So me and my brother-in-law were going to come in, and but it didn't work out. But that's the thing. It's a great hockey town, and I have so many fond memories of it that to be able to come back, it just dream come true.
When you went to those games though in Anaheim, did you stay away from the players, making sure that they still had a job to do?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you know what? I just came and watched and. Yeah, I think Jarome knew I was there, but, I stay away because, they're focused and they got a job at hand. And, I was hoping they were going to win and it just didn't work out that way. But, yeah, I never would have talked to them.
Here's an LA-related question from Dale here in Calgary. He wants to know, you never seemed to fit into Mark Crawford's system in LA. What was the problem?
I think it was just one of those, even at the beginning, they just were going in a different direction. And, a young team, and, I didn't get to kill penalties. I didn't get to play a lot. And with Dimitri and everything, Dimitri and Frolov last year, the line was real good. We had some success, and they got rid of Dimitri, and I just felt like I really wasn't a part of it right from the beginning.
How about playing in LA? I played there a long time, and focus is different, especially when you come outside the rink. You never have an overcoat. It's gorgeous weather on off days, and you're in shorts and so on. How did you keep your focus?
I think you just try to, you enjoy it. And they make a big point of that now in LA. We don't want to just have to kind of say, okay, this is where you come and retire and have fun. Yeah. We got to win games. And it is tough because it is so nice. And when things aren't going well and you come out of the rink, it's, you go to the beach and it's beautiful. And, every day's kind of like paradise. But, I think they're trying to build something there. They're going with a young team. And they're really putting a focus on, hey, you know what? We're here to play hockey and win. And that's their #1 priority. The weather's great, but we want to bring a winner to LA.
Craig, got a couple pieces of videotape I want to look at here. The first of them is not exactly compelling, but it does provide evidence of how there was a bit of pressure here this morning after that 7-5 loss to the Avalanche on Thursday night. You, in conversation with head coach Jim Playfair at the end of practice this morning for an extended period of time. Now, of course, we can't hear it, but you're going to tell us exactly what he said.
He said we need to outplay Joe Sakic tonight, and that's our bottom line. You're going to play against Joe, and you got 2 great players with you. Your line's got to make sure that they pretty much ran roughshod over us last game, and they got a lot of goals. And even though that we scored, we gave up a lot. So it was one of those where, hey, you know what, we need you to pick it up and battle through and make sure he doesn't have a night like that again.
Okay, and now we've got a question on videotape. I think this is from a viewer in Calgary, and he's got a question for you, as I say. Here it is.
Okay.
Hi Craig, this is Jarome from Calgary. I'm just wondering, when you first got to Calgary, how long did it take you to realize that on a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1 that dumping wasn't your best option?
I think that took me...
that might have been Jarome again, but we're not sure.
Yeah, I think, I think someone sitting next to me with a number 12 jersey said, hey kid, we don't dump it here. I go, hey, I'm a lot older than you. I just look younger.
Yeah, the story is when you got here, what, 01 from St. Louis?
Yeah.
One of your first shifts with Iginla, you gain the red line, you dump it in. And he skates over to you after and says, hey, Craig, that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, he said, you know what? You're not playing in St. Louis anymore. You're playing with me in LA or in Calgary. So he goes, no more dumping. We gotta make some plays.
Is that when you knew chemistry between you is strong?
Yeah, I think that was, he said it in a good way, but he was serious.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
there's no doubt about it. But and it just kind of went from there. And then I think actually Jarome didn't even like having me on the team the first when the trade came. He pretty much didn't talk to me for like 5 or 6 days. So it's weird that we kind of have such a good friendship. Now that it's been 6 or 7 years.
Oh, you think he actually resented your presence for the first week here?
Well, yeah, he actually said, he goes, we got enough pluggers. What'd you, we traded Corey Stillman for you. So, maybe not in those words, but I could tell that was the underlying gist of what
Was he
saying.
really good friends with Corey, though?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he just thought, coming from St. Louis,
Yeah.
I was a checker, and I was up for the Selke, and that was going to be, what I was doing
Right.
here. And I got lucky enough. Mark Savard got hurt in a game in Detroit, and I got to play with Jarome, and we instantly, we started scoring some goals, and then I think Jarome had like 20 goals in 20 games. So then I was like, oh, this is great. I'm never giving this spot up.
Well, what meant in 02, you helped him win the Art Ross Trophy. So what was he saying then?
Well, then it's after the first 5 or 6 games, he was great. He just that's one thing about Jarome. He's a superstar in this league, but he's just a good person, and that's what makes him. That's why you got to get him out there and get him a little bit more exposure in the U.S. too.
Email question, Tim, from Drake in Fernie, BC. With the West race being so tight, what sort of advantage do you think there is to winning the division?
Well, obviously for us, we've been playing so much better at home than on the road, so we definitely feel like, hey, this is an opportunity, if you can win a division, to be able to play at home and just get the home games to start out with. And then, hopefully our road record, we've been working on it, we're talking about it, we got to bring the same tenacity that we have at home on the road. So, it's always huge to win the division and just get that home ice advantage.
But have you ever